system software acts as a brain that will going to controls the working of hardware. Along with that, it will going to help us in order to interact with the application software. An application software has been written to process or to perform a specific job or a specific task. This utility software is generally called as application-oriented ready-made system programs. Whenever we are writing a program by making use of MLL or a machine level language, then we are calling that code as a machine code. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. Welcome back to the session 10 of Unit 1 in the BCA's first semester, subject called Fundamentals of Computers. I'm Rohini TS, Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So before getting into our today's session, we'll just have a quick recap of our previous session. As you all know that in the session 9, we had a discussion regarding this Boolean algebra. So we got to know what is Boolean algebra, and also we had a discussion with Boolean operators along with the truth table and logical symbols. So here we have a AND operator, or NOT, NAND, NOR, XOR, and then XNOR. That is what I had a discussion in the last session. So in our today's class, we're going to discuss what you mean by software and what are the different types of software we have. In that, we are going to have a system software and application software, then utility software. That I will be discussing each in detail. Along with that, we're going to see what you mean by computer languages. What are the different computer languages we have? That is what I will be discussing in my today's session. Let me get into the today's session. First, now we'll see what you mean by software here. So as you can see here, computer will going to comprises of hardware. As you all know that hardware is nothing but that is a physical component, and also it comprises of software too. So that is what? It's a set of instruction that tells the computer to perform an intended task. So what we are seeking for, what the user is seeking for, that should be conveyed to the computer by a set of instructions. So whenever we are having that set of instructions or a program, then we are calling that as a software. Then what about hardware? That is a physical component which we can touch and feel. Already you know the difference between hardware and software in the previous sessions, right? So as of now, that software, we have to concentrate on this software. So here you can see that mainly this software is categorized into two categories that comprises of system software and then application software. So here you can see the classification. So if you consider the computer software, it is comprises of two types. One is system software and another one is application software. Let me focus on the application software here. So in this application software, it can be specific purpose application software, and it can be general purpose. This is the one thing you need to remember with respect to application software. That got over. Then what about the system software? It comprises of language translator and operating system will be there, and also it will going to include the utility software, and then we have this loaders and linkers. So these are the different kinds which comes under this system software. So if I am considering this language translator, as you all know that computer can understand only zeros and ones. What if you are writing a programming in any other languages, whether it can be high level or low level, that should be converted into machine understandable form. That is what the reason we require this language translator. In that we have assembler, compiler, and then we have a interpreters. That is one part of a system software, which is language translator. Then who is going to controls and coordinates all the activities of a computer? Who is going to act as an interface between the user and hardware components? That's all will going to be taken care by this operating system. You can see the example of Linux, Windows, all these are the examples of operating system. In order to improve the efficiency of an operating system or to enhance the performance of an operating system, we have this utility software that is going to take care about the every functions which is performed by the operating system. It will going to uphold or it will upgrade or enhance the features of OS. So that includes that may be related to antivirus, backup software, disk fragmentation, compression tools, all those comes under this utility software. And we have a loaders and linkers. So if I have a pieces of programmer, then that should be connected to each other. So once it got connected, that should be loaded to the computer's memory in order to execute. In order to do that, we have a loaders and linkers. For every topic, you are going to learn it individually one by one. Let me focus on the system software right now. We'll see the definition here. It's a computer program that controls the system hardware and interacts with an application software. So the system software acts as a brain that will going to controls the working of hardware. Along with that, it will going to help us in order to interact with the application software. As I told earlier, if it is system software, then operating system is an example. You take the example of your mobile phone itself. That is what? Hardware device, right? That is a physical component. In that we have a WhatsApp. In order to use the WhatsApp, first I must have an operating system. That can be iOS or Android. So without that, we can't use any of the application software. Why? Because the controlling and coordinating all the activities of application software can be done only by this system software. So it is establishing a connection, or it acts as an interface between the hardware component as well as the application software. That is what the reason. And moreover, this is a hardware dependent and not portable. For example, if you have iOS phone or if I'm having Android phone, can we exchange the operating system? No, right? If I have a mobile, if it is comprises of Android operating system, then we can't do any changes through the life of that mobile or a computer system, isn't it? So that is why the reason it is considered as a hardware dependent, and also it is not portable. For example, if you consider the somehow some 2 to 3 years back, so what we used to do by making use of some share it, or by making use of some of the application, we used to share some of the games or files. That is what? Application software, which can be portable. But can we exchange or can we share the operating system? No, right? That is hardware dependent, and also it is not portable. We can't port it, or we can't transfer it from one place to another place. And also it may going to provide a convenient environment for the programming development and execution. In order to do the programming and to execute that, the system software will going to give a platform. And then here you can see that C, C++, Visual, and then Pascal. These are the examples or programming languages which we are going to use in order to develop this system software. For example, operating system, language translator, utility software. In order to build that, we are going to use all these languages. Under the category of this system software, again it got classified into language translator, and we have operating system and then utility software. So these are the different kind of system software. We'll see what do you mean by application software. When you got to know that system software will going to controls and coordinates the activities of application software as well as a hardware component. Then this application software is developed, or it is built for the purpose or to serve the purpose of a individual task. It is going to perform an exact task or a process which performs a specific job. So if we have that set of statements or set of instruction or a program, then we are going to call that as what? Application software. An application software has been written to process or to perform a specific job or a specific task. Then this is written in high level languages. We have a low-level programming and high-level programming language. By making use of this high-level programming languages, we are going to write this application software. So you can see the example of WhatsApp or any of the social media. All those are what? Application software, which are all meant for a particular purpose. So can we play a movie by making use of a music player? No, right? So can we book a movie tickets by making use of any of the VLC or VLC player? No, right? That's all meant for what? In order to do a specific job or a specific task, then that kind of software will be considered as what? Application software. And also it mainly focuses on the application, not on the computing system. It won't bother about the processing and all. So it mainly focuses on the application, not on the computing system. And also again it got classified into two types. One is application specific and another one is general purpose. So when it comes to the application specific, at this time this software is created to execute an exact task. So if I am creating an application software which is serving a particular purpose, or if you are using that software in order to perform a particular or individual task, then we are calling that kind of software as application specific software. So you can take the example of inventory management system, and also you can take the example of weather forecasting. So can we book a movie's tickets by making use of weather forecasting? No, right? That is meant to perform a particular job. And also college management system, school management system, railway reservation system, all those are the example which comes under this application specific. So here it will going to have a limited task. You can see the example for maintaining the accounts by making use of a tally and all will comes under this category. Then we have a general purpose here. So when it comes to the general purpose, it is not only limited to perform a particular task, or it is not only meant for a single function. Instead of that, it will not going to have a limited task. It is going to give us the n number of features. Out of that, we can get the benefit by making use of the feature which we wanted to use. So you can take the example of MS Office here, or Microsoft Office, that comprises of MS Word, and also we have a MS Access, MS Excel. There will be a bundle of features. So out of that you can use whichever you wanted to access. So here you can see the example Tally, Oracle, all these comes under this general purpose software or application software. Fine. Next we'll see what do you mean by this utility software. As I told earlier, this utility software will going to enhance the performance of an operating system. It will going to tune the operating system feature, and also a helpful program that assists the computer by performing helpful functions. So that functions can be backing up disk or scanning or cleaning of the viruses. This utility software is generally called as application oriented ready-made system programs. And then what are the examples which comes under this category? It include text editor, backup utility, defragmenter, and then we have a antivirus software. All these are the examples which comes under this utility software. I hope you all understood what do you mean by software and what are the different categories of software. Out of that we got to know what is system software, application and types of application software, and then utility software. So in my coming session you are going to learn about the system software categories one by one. So as of now we'll see what is this about computer languages. That is all related to what? Introduction of this computer languages. As we know that if I wanted to get a benefit from a computer, then I wanted to make the computer to understand what I am seeking for, isn't it? Then how we are going to make that? By writing a set of instruction. That set of instruction can be written by following certain syntax or a protocols or a structures. Then we are calling that as a programming language. We can see here programming language is a set of rules, and we are calling that set of rules and set of structure as a syntax which user has to follow in order to instruct the computer what operations are to be performed. In order to make the computer understand what we are seeking for, we have to write a set of instruction by making use of this syntax or by following the syntax. Then we are calling that as a programming language. Then it is classified into two categories. One is what? Low level language, and then high level programming language. If it is low level, then we have a machine level language and assembly level language. In short, it can be ALL and MLL. And then we have a high level programming language that can be what created or built for the general purpose and also for the specific purpose. So if you consider the general purpose language, there we have a basic Pascal and C as a programming languages which comes under this category, and then COBOL, Fortran and C++ which comes under specific purpose language. We'll see each type of languages one by one. First, let me go with this low level language. Under that, we have a machine level language. As you all know that I'm keep on telling you again and again, computer can understand only zeros and ones. What if you are writing a program or a set of instruction by making use of a binary number zeros and ones? Then we are calling that kind of programming language as what? Machine level language. So mainly this is the fundamental language of a computer. Why? Because it is fundamental. This is only the language which computer can understand. And then with the help of this binary number, that is what, zeros and ones, we are writing this machine level language programming. And mainly whenever we are writing a program by making use of MLL or a machine level language, then we are calling that code as a machine code. Do we require any translation here? Already computer is able to understand the machine code, then no translation is required. So that is what machine level language is considered as a fundamental language of a computer. And also the instruction provided in the machine language are directly understood by the computer and converted into electrical signals in order to run the computer. No translation is required. It can be directly understood by the computer itself. Then here you can see the example. Here we have 12 character which is comprised of set of zeros and ones. This first 4 zeros or ones will be considered as what? Opcode, operation code, that specifies what kind of operation we are performing, whether we are loading, adding, translating and storing, all those are the operation. And then operand, that is what? Next 8 consecutive zeros or ones, that specifies the operand, that includes the address or location. So in which data, on what data, where we have that address, based on that we are going to do this performance or we are going to do the execution part. So together we are calling or we are having this as a machine level language. So this is simple program. In order to write it, in order to add the two numbers, we are loading a data and we are adding the contents. After the adding, that should be stored. If it is done, that should get stopped. Then what are the advantages and disadvantages we have in a MLL or a machine level language? Mainly it can be directly typed and executed, and compilation or translation is not required here. So you can directly type and execute. So if it is directly understood by the computer or a compiler, no compilation is required and even translation is also not required. But what is the disadvantage? What if every programming consists of only zeros and ones? Could you able to remember it? Somehow difficult and somehow confusions too. That's why these instructions are machine dependent. If I am writing a code for particular machine, that can't be implemented for another machine. That's why it's only machine dependent. So it can't be independent and it is difficult to program, modify and debug errors. If everything is only zeros and ones, sometimes we may get panic by looking into that zeros and ones. But that is the favorite thing to the computer. That's why this is difficult to modify and debug. That's all regarding what? Machine level language. Then we'll see the second one. That's all related to what? Assembly level language, or in short we can call this as a ALL. Okay, assembly level language. In the machine level language, we were using zeros and ones. What if we started using some of the letters, symbols, some of the words or any of the symbols? Then we are calling that as a assembly level language here. So it's also a low-level programming language that allows the user to write a program by making use of letter, words and symbols. Then we are calling that as a mnemonics. Very, very important word here. Mnemonics. Instead of using binary numbers called zeros and ones, here we are using some of the digits, some of the letters, words and symbols. We are making a computer to understand by writing a set of instruction by making use of this letter, words or symbol. Then we are calling that as a mnemonic code. Or when we are writing a program by making use of assembly level language, then we are calling that code as what? Assembly code. Here you can see the example. Instead of writing zeros and ones, here we have some word STAA that specifies load the data to the accumulator. Then we are adding the B to that. Then we are storing it. Then we are printing it. HLT specifies halt or stop. This is one of the example with respect to this assembly level language. So as we know that this is going to use some of the symbols. We call that as a mnemonics code, but we wanted to make it to be converted into machine code. So in order to do that, here we have an assembler. The translator program that converts an assembly code into machine code is called assembler. This machine assembly code, whatever we had written as a program by making use of a symbol, will be converted into machine understandable format. In order to do the translation, we have a translator, then we are calling the translator as an assembler here. Okay. Then what are the advantages and disadvantages we have here? Mainly mnemonic codes are easy to remember. Instead of remembering zeros and ones, it is easy to remember some of the symbols and easy to understand, easy to modify and debug. So finding out of the errors and modifying the content are somehow easy in the assembly level language. And also what are the disadvantages we have here? These languages are mnemonics, or the machine dependent, and assembly languages or programming takes longer to code. So this is also machine dependent, and also all the low level programming languages are machine dependent, and translation is also required here. So why? Because assembly code should be converted into machine code. That's why it's going to take certain time or long time in order to execute it. These are the disadvantage. So this is all regarding what? Low level programming language. So now we'll see about this high level languages. In this high level programming languages, we are going to make a program easier by making use of a familiar English words and a symbol. So when we are writing a set of instruction by making use of a English words and symbol, then we are calling that kind of programming as a high level programming language, or in short it is HLL. And also this is going to use the English language which are easy to learn and also easy to use. Then here you can see that these are all a machine independent. This high level programming language is machine independent. It does not depend on any of the operating system or any type of a computer. That is why program written for one computer can be executed on a different computer with no or only some slight modifications are required. So once we build an operating system or once we build any of a program, then that can be run on any number of computers or any number of operating system. So that's why we are calling it as a machine independent. And also here you can see the example C, C++, Java, Fortran. All these are the example which comes under this high level programming languages. So here you can see one of the example. First we are with the help of C++ programming language, we are adding two numbers, or we are adding two variables, that is A and B. First we are taking an input, after that we are adding and storing in one variable, then we are displaying the content of that variable. This is one of the example. Fine. Then what are the advantages and disadvantages in this high level programming language? So if I am considering the advantage, mainly this is machine independent. That is one of the most important advantage. After that, it is also easy to learn. Why? Because we have a English language here and easy to understand. Even modification and debugging is also easy. Then what could be the disadvantage? So mainly it will be slower in execution. Why? Because that a higher level programming language or a high level programming languages should be converted into machine code. In order to convert that, it will going to take time. So then who is going to convert? Here you can see that we have a compiler. So the translator program that converts high level code into machine code, then we are calling that as a compiler. That is what the reason we are doing a compilation. So we are converting a high level programming code into machine equivalent code. Then we are requiring this translator. Then we are calling the translator as a compiler. In order to do that compilation, it will going to be slower in execution. And also it requires a compiler in order to convert source code to object code. Remember, when it is source code, a code which is written by the programmer, then we are calling that as a source code. Okay. So the code which can be understood by the computer, then we are calling that as a object code. That will be in zeros and ones. And also it will going to take more time in order to execute, and also it require more memory space in order to do the loading and execution of that kind of high level programming languages. I hope you all understood my today's class. In my coming session, we'll going to see what are the different translator we have, how it will going to work, and also we'll see about the linkers and loaders. Then we'll start with the programming a computer, how computer programming we are going to start. That is what I will be discussing in my coming session. Let me meet you there in the coming session. Until that, keep learning, keep on growing. Thank you.